Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the New Media Show. My name is Todd Cochran. Of course, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Rob Greenlee. Good morning, Rob. And if I cough on you today, I apologize in advance. I don't have a mute button. My mute button's back there, and I'm fighting the crud.
Yeah, I have a mute button, Todd, so I'll at least cover any particular cough that I might bring to the show. But no, I'm not sick. I didn't go to the CES show and get in front of 125,000 people, and your odds of getting sick were pretty high there, Todd, I think.
Well, I believe it or not, I think I made it out of there without getting sick.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
Okay.
I was good all the way until, because I got home Sunday, and I was good all the way until Thursday. Then the throat started doing the thing. So
Okay.
either at the very end or on the airplane, who knows? But it really isn't the full-blown flu. It's just sore throat and sinuses. So I've
Okay, it's a cold then, is what you got.
so I've lucked out here.
Yeah, that's good. I know the flu is spreading far and wide out there in this country. It's killing people, actually.
Yeah,
So
it's bad this year.
yeah. But anyway, we didn't come on. We didn't start this show to talk about our health problems. But
No, we
yeah.
didn't. So, by the way, Happy New Year, since we haven't done a show since the New Year. Happy New Year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
The sun came up and podcasting continues. Todd.
Yeah.
So
and matter of fact, it's been January. I was really kind of out of the loop. I was following what was going on in the office, but I was inundated with literally, how it is, thousands of emails, and so I was being very careful because some stuff was floating over into my raw voice email account from CES. I was, trying to be careful on mass deletions because it's at some point you just can't read it all that's coming in from these vendors.
yeah.
And then I got back and I'm like, okay, did I miss anything? Talking with the team, and man, it's just like January has started with a roar. I mean, it's like it's hot and heavy. It's amazing. We had a little lull during the Christmas holiday, but wow.
Well, and the steady stream of articles and people publishing, major articles in a lot of the larger publications and some of the smaller ones out there continues to come out. And as usual, Todd, the misinformation and bad information continues as well.
It does. And I sent you that link to that one guy, and once again, podcasting. We can't call it podcasting. Oh my God.
Yeah. It's eventually going to be a radio show, Todd. Didn't you know that?
Well, that's what the radio guys want. They want to call it radio.
It's just a matter of time, Todd, before this show becomes a radio show. Did you know that?
Okay, that's good. Then if it becomes a radio show, they have to pay me.
That's right. I need the big bucks now, right?
That's right. Woohoo.
Yeah, exactly. So some people just don't want to let it die. It's like, oh, what's a podcast?
Yeah. That's what your dad called it.
That's right. That's right.
Oh my gosh.
We're so old school now, Todd, that we need to come up with a new name called radio show.
Yeah. Yep. Delivered on radio, delivered on demand via
That's right. Via your RSS feed.
That's right. Oh, geez. And it's just, it's the same thing too. I saw something about someone talking about time to get rid of the RSS feed. And I'm just rolling my eyeballs like, okay.
It's called link bait, Todd. It's called link bait.
Yeah.
It's the only explanation that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Plus the one that came out here that I saw this past week called DIY podcasting isn't as cheap as you think.
Oh.
I don't know if you saw this article.
No.
It's actually fairly, it's true. I mean, there's the full spectrum. I mean, you can get into podcasting and spend $10,000 if you want to.
Right.
But to make a blanket statement that DIY podcasting isn't as cheap as you think, that may be true on a relative scale. But this guy's claiming that a DIY podcast, to start a podcast, costs, let's see, what's his bottom line here? He said it costs.
Let me guess. $399.99.
Let's see here. Adding it all up, he says, I've spent $5,000.
What?
He said ongoing costs between $230 and $630 per month.
Oh my gosh. Hey,
Talk about scaring people unnecessarily.
So what he's doing is he's on, he has someone editing his show. He has someone writing his show notes.
Yep.
He's not doing anything himself except for pulling up the mic. He's having his people get booked by other people. What happened to, what happened to the date? You know what?
Well, DIY is do it yourself, right?
I better never hear another podcaster bitch about $12 podcast hosting.
Yeah.
And actually, we don't hear that anymore. We don't hear complaints about maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks or something. Maybe someone will say, but not like it used to be.
Yeah, exactly. To read my Twitter post comment about this article was, nope. Do I need to go on about this article on how expensive it is to start and do a podcast? All you really need is an ATR 2100 for $75 and a $5 or $5.99 hosting plan, and that's about it.
$12 hosting plan in Blueberry, right?
Well, there you go. That's really going to hit your pocketbook hard.
Right. It just cracks me up. It really, really does. Because we're in an instant gratification era, and no one wants to do the work on their own. No one wants to put in the time. No one, what? Okay, cool. I'm glad he's.
So he's saying that
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
He's supporting. Go ahead.
He's saying that the pre-production time per episode is 4 hours.
Wow.
A recording time is 2.5 hours per episode, but it's only a 1 hour recording. Setup and takedown an hour, and a buffer of 30 minutes.
Setup and takedown. Why do you take anything down?
I don't know. I have no idea.
You don't unplug. You don't unplug this stuff. You leave it in a corner, and you.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's doing it with a portable recorder. He keeps talking about buying a 2-track recorder, 2 mic stands, a 64 gigabyte memory card, and a Skype call recorder app for $40, which you can get a Skype recording software for free.
I'm not using any app to record Skype right now.
Well, besides your TriCaster, right?
Well, it's going into the audio recorder over here. It's
exactly. Yeah.
It's just
a computer.
It's going to the mixer, but I do have the cost of the mixer, so.
Yeah.
But
and then post-production is 3.5 hours per episode, Todd.
Man,
that's the one that you're going to object to because you don't do any post-production.
If I had to do 3.5 hours of post-production, I would not be podcasting. I wouldn't have made it 6 months.
And show notes are another 2 hours.
What? This guy should have 100,000 listeners.
Yeah, that's right. It says, adding it all up, fixed cost one time, $414. Production cost per episode, $50 to $150. Variable cost per month, $30, which I have no idea what that is. And time commitment per episode, 10 hours. And he doesn't even list in here hosting costs.
Well, that is he's probably using Anchor, so
he doesn't say who he's using.
Right. And here's the kicker about this. Let's that guy's in outer space. Let's look at some I'll look at my show, the show that I really work hard at, and this one I just show up. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm sorry, but used to do an hour and a half of prep for Geek News Central. Now my
Yeah.
prep time is about 30 minutes because the guy I hired to do a lot of my prep gets me about 80% of the way there. And
Yeah.
then, or maybe even 85 sometimes. And then I'm another 30 minutes. Oh gosh. By the way, don't ever hold a sneeze in. I read something where a guy blew his throat out by holding a sneeze in.
He blew his throat out.
Didn't know that was possible, but it is.
I didn't either. What does it even mean?
It
Todd?
rips your throat, and then it allows air to get where it's not supposed to be, and your neck will get like big.
Oh.
I've never heard of such a thing. Something I read on one of the websites. But anyway, I digress. So, maybe 30, 45 minutes to do show prep, an hour 10 to record it, one shot, and 10 minutes post-production. That's, so I do have about, in the upload and writing show notes, I probably have, if I think about this, 30, probably, including Kirk's time, hour and a half, 240, 245. Yeah, 3 hours, 10, 3 hour, 15 minutes is probably what I've got per episode. If it's end to end, if I was doing the whole thing myself. Now I get an hour back. But
yeah.
So it is a time commitment.
Yeah. No, I mean, it takes work. I mean, honestly, producing a podcast is not like, especially a quality one takes some effort.
Yep.
No question about that. But I wouldn't say that effort is money per se. I think this guy was trying to translate his time as equivalent to some money or something. Yeah. I mean, you could do that if you want to.
Sure. And I think it's important to realize that time is money. I advocate, I'm all the time like, why are we driving 3 miles to save 2 cents on gas? That type of an equation, same thing.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, Todd, to change the subject here,
Sure.
There's a podcast. It's a guy that I've known for a long time, Luke Burbank, who's doing a 24-hour live stream episode recorded on a party bus driving around Washington State. So your idea of doing a 24-hour podcast is being done here, but it's going to be on a bus driving around Washington State.
That's cool. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, so I guess he's going to pile on his fans onto the bus, and they're going to drive around the state in 24 hours. His name is Luke Burbank. He does a podcast called Too Beautiful to Live. I've actually been on a podcast with Luke before, but he does a lot of public radio stuff. But I thought it was interesting. So
you going to go hang out on the bus with him for 24 hours?
I don't know yet. I just saw the article. I didn't know he was doing it.
Oh, sounds like fun.
He does a show on Minnesota Public Radio and American Public Media. He does a show or two.
All right.
Yeah, thought that was interesting.
So Ryan in the chat room says, I do my 4 shows a week. I have someone who transcribes each one and someone who does very in-depth show notes. So Ryan pays for that too. So his costs are not inexpensive for transcribing. I just don't believe. I think the effort to transcribe and the value you get from it is minimal. If someone can show me how they take those transcribed transcriptions of those shows and turn that into 5 or 6 times what it costs to do it. In other words, if I'm going to make, if it costs me $100 to the show, it's got to return $500, $600, $700, $800 per episode. If it doesn't, why do it?
Yeah, I agree.
Unless there's some other reason. And most people that do transcription don't do it good. It's not contextual, and Google actually just penalizes you for it.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Tim says, I have people, me, myself, and I. Well, Tim, we know that, but you also need a show. We need to get you started. Hey, Michael, welcome to the show as well. Matt, Lee, thanks for being here. So I guess I'll give you a rundown of what's been happening here, Rob.
Yeah, that'd be great. And also, I talk about CES a little bit and your experience down there and what you saw is hot as it relates even to podcasting.
Yeah.
Too.
So I went to Vegas way too early. I had a top secret meetings Wednesday and Thursday. NDA'd up to my ears. And I went out in the desert 2 days in a row, and I still can't talk about it. They didn't announce at CES, and so anyway, I arrived on whatever day the day after New Year's was, the 2nd, and then did these 2 days out in the desert, the 3rd and the 4th, and Friday I.
So what does that mean? 2 days out in the desert?
That's all I can say.
Or like a Burning Man experience here? Is that what we're talking about?
I was transported an hour outside of Vegas with a vendor 2 days in a row.
Oh, okay.
And I got to do some things. And me and about 5 other folks. So
my mind is racing on that one, Todd. What could that be? I'm trying to think here. It could be something good or something embarrassing.
Well, no. It was a it was a company that everyone's very familiar with in the space, and American company. But I'm serious. I signed like 5 legal documents. I can't talk. All I can say is I went out to the desert. And I've got some video. At some point, we'll see the life of day, So anyway, then Friday, Saturday.
Somebody stuffed a sock in your mouth, didn't they?
Oh, they did. And believe me, we were warned like 3 times. Oh, it's crazy. But anyway, Friday and Saturday spent time just kind of hanging out in Vegas, doing thing. And then Sunday did the setup. Everything went good. We got all the got the studio set 2-3 hours, and and I was just waiting on Don Bain to show up with lights, and told the guys, okay, we'll see you Monday around noon, and we got over to the studio Monday at noon, and we got everything fired up and just double checking everything, and I decided to test my live stream because that's we checked the bandwidth's good. I got 30 up, 30 down. I'm good, and I hit stream on the TriCaster, and it flipped me the bird. It wouldn't stream, and that turned into a nightmare of 5 or 6 hours of troubleshooting, and it turned out to be this obscure driver that needed to be updated that New Tech didn't tell anybody about, and they got raked. I raked them over the coals. That's just something that's supposed to work. That's not something that's ever supposed to break. You expect other things to break in the TriCaster, but it is a streaming device, and the stream as well, it did. So, but anyway, we're all good. Tuesday, show opens. We already got booked. We're booked full, but it rained, Rob, Monday and Tuesday in Vegas. You know how it is. And have you ever been to Vegas when it rains?
Not really.
They don't have storm drains.
Okay. That's good. It usually doesn't rain in Vegas.
Right. So everything flooded, everything. And it's the first day of the show, and I'm just thinking to myself, we're screwed, because I had planned to go to an event on Monday night and get 20 interviews and have Phil for Tuesday morning when we went live. That's what we always do. We have Phil because we know people aren't going to make it on time. It's Vegas, the time-space continuum. They think, I just walk over there in 5 minutes. 2 hours later, they get there, right? Yeah. So, we had sporadic guests Tuesday morning. First couple hours in was really rough because I didn't have nothing to cover with. I'd seen nothing but this little 10 by 12 room I was in. And so finally, the guests started arriving on time. And so Tuesday in the bag, pretty good. I got a lot of good stuff on the floor. Where we were at was perfect. Then there was some internet trouble. I can't remember which day we had the big internet trouble, but I had ordered 5 dedicated IPs. and you have to in advance tell them what you need so you get an allocation. And they were using DHCP, but the block I was in only had 13 IPs on it and 37 people competing for those 13 IPs. So you can imagine the chaos that ensued. I get knocked offline, and I had a conversation. let's just put it that way. I had a conversation with the CTA about this situation, and yes, it got fixed, but we had major trouble. Bandwidth was good. It was the infrastructure within SANS, brand new tech group, and a lot of people putting in computers that they had not pre-authorized that needed an IP. So it so happens with a lot of independents, if they don't do these shows, and if they don't go to these events, they just don't know. When they ask, well, how many computers you're going to have, and they say, well, I'm going to have 2. And they say, okay, you need 2 IPs, and they bring 5. And so anyway, that was really but otherwise, matter of fact, I got, much to my wife's chagrin, I have the other TriCaster set up on the kitchen table, copying media off, and I've got to get the production started. I got to ship drives to a guy that's going to be doing post-production, so we get the content starting to be published on the website from all these interviews. But I think I did 40 to 50 floor interviews, and then of course I was in the booth or in the broadcast booth 2 to 3 hours. It was great. We were talking with all startups, and some had products, some had some coming to market, and I'm totally jazzed. And what we found, we had the Shark Tank next to us. They were working out of a room one day. And then periodically people coming in different groups. I had radio people next door, but when we had first showed up, they told us, and we had already sent all of the emails, hundreds of emails to vendors saying, this is our location, this is where we're going to be, here's the map here. We do everything to make it easy for people to find us. We even draw like lines and stuff from the entrance so people can, because it's hard to navigate.
It's a maze.
Yeah.
It's a maze. Yeah.
So
totally.
We had already sent all those emails out, and we got there. The lady said, I got you downstairs. And we're like, no, we're up here. Well, I have a note here that you want to be downstairs. I said, yeah, I said that in July that I want to be downstairs. She said, well, we had the person that was going to do that podium cancel. So they were on an 18 by 18 rised, Rob. So it would have been the best locate, but I just couldn't switch. So I said, as we were leaving on Friday, I'm like, okay, I'm bidding right now. I want that location. And you see, we've been here working all week, all the way up to the end, and no one else in the building did what we did, and I think when people, and we hadn't been in the SANS, we worked out of the North Hall for years. So this lady she's like, you guys are a machine. You guys are just sitting here cranking it. And, but anyway, it was a good show.
Mm-hmm. That's good. So what did you find out, from a technology perspective out there that really wowed you? What was the big thing? Did you venture down at all into the kind of, voice assistant areas, or see what was happening with cars, or
everything's voice assisted? Amazon, I tell you who wasn't at the show. I saw nothing from Cortana. And no booth had anything from Cortana, but huge integration with Amazon and Google. Huge integration. If you didn't have a Alexa enabled or Google Home enabled, or every booth that had some sort of product, that there was some interactivity to it, had some sort of integration. If it wasn't, it's planned, it's coming. It's the Internet of Things in the home is the floor that we were on was all home innovation. And in the early days, and I had to laugh because we were there in the very early days when this IoT stuff started popping up, and there was one or two booths, and
Mhm.
the wireless protocols and all this stuff and there's still a battle going on with that. But the now is a whole floor, and it's very hard. I would walk into a home automation booth, and I'd be like, "What do you have that's different?" And the guy would go, "Well, we've got this switch that nope, that was 5 years ago. What do you have that's different?" Yeah, so I
Yeah.
was trying to find some new category, something new that would wow me. Believe it or not, the only thing I truly found in the home innovation space, and I have, I don't know where probably the only piece of paper I picked up at the whole show was a standard electric socket, a 3-prong socket that's in the wall. The only difference is the middle part in between the two plugs is a removable module. So you could put in a Wi-Fi, you could put in a charger, they had like a dozen different little modules that allowed you to do different things with that single plug. Startup, proof
So
of
is it like a USB port or
it
something,
could
or is
be
it
anything. Yeah, I mean, they had, I'm trying to think of
a lightning bolt or
yeah, you name it, they had it. And again, you could change the module out for whatever you needed, for whatever that plug
okay,
was going to do. That was the only thing, because most of these plugs are single function. In other words, it's a plug with a USB, but this, you could build it, modularize it out to do what you wanted to do, control. Um,
yeah,
but I'm going to tell you where home automation is going. And with most of these, okay, if you've got in your house today, if you've got electrical outlets, if you've got lights, if you've got things that you can control, okay,
door locks is a big thing.
door
I put those into
locks,
my house. I
yeah,
put those into my
yep,
house. I can control my doors with an app. Yeah,
thermostats, anything,
yeah.
your refrigerator, all the home appliances are going to be connected. You have to have a base station for that. And sometimes if you've got 2 or 3 different um, protocols, you need a base station that can basically do everything. So now I saw a guy that had a base station in a retrofit for a garage door opener that would allow you to open your garage door, or number one, close your garage door from work, or alert you that it's open after a certain time. It's basically a function to help your garage control your garage door. And they built a base station into that. And I'm like, why would you build a base station into a garage door? He says, well, we're going to tie to the alarm system, this and that, and this and that. And what I found out from industry representatives is that every device that comes into your home the battle is for the base station, the station
Yeah.
that talks to everything. Well, the 8,000-pound gorilla, you know who's going to be the base station?
Going to be the ISP,
Uh-uh.
right?
Uh-uh.
The modem.
The base station is going to be Google Home and Amazon Alexa. It's going to be,
Oh, I see.
they're going to be the base station that's going to control everything. And I talked to one guy privately. I'm like, we got off the air and I said, your business model, you guys, this is your business. You make base stations. I said, you're on the clock. He says, we know. Because he knows that as soon as all these protocols that communicate with these devices are built into all of in Google and Apple, and everyone else will be smart to build those protocols into these smart home devices. And so you will just be like, Alexa, turn on the lights, or I'm going to bed, or Google Home, I'm doing this or I'm doing that. And it will control all your smart devices. So that's who's in trouble. But that's who's going to be controlling our home automation.
Yeah, because I have in my house, I have two kind of base controllers that use Wi-Fi and in Bluetooth to communicate to devices. So there is a protocol that's out there. It's like that exists, I guess, that enables that communication. And you get these little plugins that plug into wall outlets
Right.
that you need to keep close to your home automation devices, so it has a pathway to communicate to the internet.
Right.
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 So you have to have those. So what you're talking about is, and a lot of these are already connected to Alexa right now.
Yep. Yep.
So you can voice control them because they're using the same
Yep.
kind of Bluetooth and Wi-Fi connections. So,
Yep.
so what you're talking about here is that the Alexa and these smart home agents will be the base station. Now, the only question that I can think of as I deployed this myself would be those Alexa devices need to be scattered throughout the home to be able to communicate to the to each of the devices in every room of the house. So one Alexa is not going to be able to cover like a 4-bedroom house. It's
No.
going to have to be multiple Alexas.
Yeah. Or there'll be extenders like there are now. But what's also coming is that there was an announcement made that, and I haven't, it was late, so I didn't get all the information, is apparently now in my house, I've got Echo in the bedroom. I've got the one with the screen on it here in the office. In the living room, there's a full-blown stall, the tall one. And then my daughter has one. So there's already 4 in my house.
Yeah. And they're scattered around in your house, right?
Right.
So,
and they're going to be able to talk to each other soon.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to say, play AC/DC on one, and it'll play on all.
Yeah.
You'll be able to link them. And that's what Sonos does. Sonos, that's why I love Sonos, is they've got beautifully sounding speakers. They're interconnected. I can fire the whole house up with Sonos. Well, with them interconnecting these and making them talk to each other now, it's big. But so anyway, that's home innovation. The IoT of things is, big. And then of course in the startup section, we saw just about everything we could imagine. France was huge at CES. Had a huge delegation. So
I'm looking this topic up a little bit right now about these connections and how these smart speakers are going to come into the home. Now, Apple has a technology called Apple HomeKit.
Yep.
And then there's Google, which is basically the Google Assistant technology. And there's a bunch of other ones out there too that are vying for a place here too. If you think about Nest and Honeywell and Logitech is getting involved in this space. I mean, all sorts of companies are. Oh, and then the one that seems to come up a lot is a technology called Z-Wave.
Yeah, Z-Wave is really everything. Okay, Z-Wave is king right now, but there are about 5 protocols. I would say if you're going to buy something, you need to make sure it's got the Z-Wave symbol on it.
Correct.
And basically what Alexa we're probably totally screwing up people that are trying to listen to the show on Amazon devices today, but the Amazon devices will all have Z-Wave in them. And so will Google Home. And I don't know if they do already or not, but here's the thing. These alliances were never able to get their acts together to consolidate into one. So they're interoperating between each other. So Z-Wave and all the other ones are Zigbee and all the other ones that are out there will have to be built into these devices. So
that Z-Wave technology is the connecting glue that enables these communications across all these different devices.
Yep.
And I guess as we think about podcasting, I think you had mentioned this before. I think you can have these things networked up. These smart agent technologies or these smart speakers will be on your phone. They're going to be in your car. They're going to be probably on a device in your bathroom. They could be on your refrigerator. They could be on, wherever you happen to be in the home. There could be one of these technologies integrated into a device that you have, and I think that's ultimately where it's going.
Well, for sure. And
so you're going to be able to get access to podcasts no matter where you are.
No matter where you're at, yeah. And here's the kicker. And most of us have seen this. Do you have a route that you drive every day? If I take my kids to school every morning, and I have to drive into town, and get in the car, and I basically click Google Maps. Then I click the destination, and it automatically knows I'm going to Mauna Loa High School. It just knows that's a route I'm always going. Google's smart enough to know that. I click that, and what I'm looking for is transit time, how long it's going to take me to get there. So we're going to get to a point here with all this media where they know some of the shows I listen to on a regular basis. As soon as they're out, I listen to them. I'm going to get prompted to listen to such and such show
at a certain time during a certain behavior that you do with your device. These devices are going to be able to project what we're going to do in our lives based on our calendar, our usual patterns of operation. Those GPS trackings in those devices are going to know where we typically go on certain days if we're into a pattern, and they're going to basically be like one step ahead of us in our lives.
Part of a security alert that just came out for computers, especially folks that are running high-end Intel chips, is that those computers chips are designed to be thinking, what is he going to do next, and start those processes. And that's what's caused a security hole in Intel chips. Is there's a time frame where something could be injected into that process. And it's a big thing that's going on in the tech world right now. Lots of updates from Intel, from Microsoft, everyone. But it's more of that. And again, it's not AI yet, but it's pattern. It's our lifestyle patterns that we're all creatures of habit.
It feels like, Todd. Yeah, I mean, we are creatures of habit. It feels like we're on the cusp of a really big change with AI and with these augmented reality experiences, plus automation in the car. I think over the next 5 to 10 years, and it's going to impact podcasting, I think, in a big way, in how people discover and listen to podcasts on a regular basis. Your device is going to know your patterns and know what your subscriptions are and know when you listen to certain shows. And like you said, it's going to prompt you. It's like, do you want to listen to the New Media Show at a certain time that you usually do that? It's going to know that. And I guess my question for these podcast listening platforms, the big ones out there, the Apples and the Googles and what they're working on in the back end, and is how much integration is going to happen with this. I think we're starting to see it with Amazon more. It feels kind of early in that process, Todd, but these things are going to be significant in how we experience podcasts. It feels like, anyway.
Yeah. So I just, it's from home innovation standpoint, it's, you almost don't even have to pick your poison now, because used to be you had to buy all from the same vendor. Now you don't necessarily have to. You can pick and choose on what's the best. But, there's a lot of people that are concerned about home automation. And, I'm one of those that,
that could be hacked.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it's like electric or electronic door locks on your car, right?
Yeah, drives my kids crazy. They'll holler at the Amazon device and it won't react. It's because I've had the microphone muted. They go over there and they're like, "Why do you do that, Dad?" I'm like, "I don't. You haven't talked to the device in 2 days. Does it need to sit there and be listening to the conversations for 2 days?"
Yeah.
I'm not saying that anything spying's going on, but who knows, right?
Yeah. Well, it's a great time for the NSA, isn't it, Todd?
Well, I wouldn't know anything about that.
Somebody's mum about that, aren't they?
I wouldn't know anything about that. So it's an interesting time. It really, really is. But as far as the content consumption goes, I saw one company. I had to laugh. I walked into the booth and they had it was really, really dumb. They begged me as I had, a PR person was out in the hallway and
Yeah.
begged me to come in. And it's a and I told the guys those would be like the mercy interviews. We would sometimes do a mercy interview.
Mercy interview.
And walked into the booth, and this guy says, "Oh, I got this artificial intelligence smart device here." And I'm like, "Oh, great! Hi, how are?" And I spoke to it. It didn't do nothing. And I said, "So, how do you interact with this thing?" And they told me, and they stood there for 15 minutes trying to get it to work. And the guy was so pissed because you know how it is at CES. You've got 5,000 Wi-Fi channels, 100,000 Bluetooth. It's nothing. Interconnected stuff doesn't work.
Yeah.
If you want some advice, you go to Vegas for a show like that, you better wire things up so they're wired and not wireless. But anyway, um, he talked to me about what's going on. We weren't going to do an interview because he couldn't get to work. But I looked over on the screen and I said, "Oh, you got podcast integration." He says, "Oh yeah." I says, "We do." And be honest with you, Rob, I don't even remember the company. I've got their card somewhere. I'll find it. And I'm like, "Where are you populating your directory from?" And he told me some company. And I said, "I've never heard of that company." And then, of course, I broke out the other business card. I said, "This is my other hat. This is what I do to pay what I do in the podcasting space." And so we talked a little bit, and I'm like, "I'm so sorry. I've never heard of the company that you." So they're feeding their podcast directory from some third party out there that I'm going to have to go research. But it was kind of funny. He had podcasts built into their home entertainment platform. And it was their own deal. It was not. It was something custom that they did. So, podcasting is last place I ever expect to see a menu item for podcast was in that booth, and we did. So, it just goes to show you that companies are aware, and it's an important medium. So that's good for us.
Yeah. No, I think it is. I mean, I think this medium is reached that plateau of being as cool as Facebook and Twitter was back in the early days of their expansion as well. It just feels like it's now kind of taken its place where it's kind of always deserved to be, but it took a little longer because of the distraction of Facebook and Twitter and the expansion of social media. I think kind of took the public eye away from podcasting for a few years, and now it's clearly back.
So while we were gone, they had the iHeartMedia shakeup where they were preloading media in their web players.
Oh, and their players, yeah.
Yeah, that made the news, and they got removed from Podtrack's top 10 listing. I just don't understand why Podtrack wasn't like monitoring that. Why they didn't know.
Yeah.
That's something.
Well, Todd,
something we
that
watch
whole
for.
problem of preloading into audio players has been a problem that's been around in the space for what 10 years now.
Well,
it's nothing new.
It's more with HTML5. Since that.
Yeah.
Wasn't so much with the JavaScript players from early days, but now that's just like, I've even known some third-party podcast players that have had this issue in the past, and we've had to send, emails to those devs saying, "Hey, you're preloading. We put you on a blacklist until you fix that."
I mean, whether it's done on purpose or by accident.
Well,
right?
Sometimes I think it's ignorance. They just don't know. Whoever does their dev work didn't know not to set that setting. It's easy. So most of them, it's probably a 5-minute dev fix. So once they put the no preload statement in there, they're okay.
Yeah.
But and of course, news out of Pandora talking about launching this Gnome. Is that the right way to pronounce that? The Gnome project, or did you read about that?
Oh, the Genome
Genome.
Project.
There we go. Okay, Toddism there. The Genome Project for podcasting. So I thought that was an interesting move. They are going to monetize podcasting in a way that no one ever has.
I think there's a few other folks that are making proclamations like that too. So, yeah. We're in a new era here, Todd. I mean, these big companies are going to come in and try and put their little magic sauce on this medium, and the jury's out if any of it's going to succeed.
Well, if they come on and monetize the content within Pandora, great. But I don't know how they're going to monetize it anywhere else. You know?
Well, yeah. Are they going to
become hosting providers?
Yeah, exactly. And I just don't see that happening. I just don't see these big new players coming into the space, getting into the hosting platform, and because their business models are not about distributing content that's on their platform to other people's platforms.
Right.
It's just not what they do, right? None of them do that. I could see, I mean, obviously Apple doesn't do it. The only players that do it are guys like us, with our platforms. Because we're independent of these listening platforms that are only about gathering audience for their platform. Right? They're not into. That's what's always been a little bit of a misnomer about SoundCloud. Is that SoundCloud is a lot like these other guys, right? They care about building audience on SoundCloud. They don't care about building audience on iTunes. Why would they care about that?
Well, and they made it very evident. They've made it harder to distribute outside of SoundCloud. They want people to come back to SoundCloud. They don't want them on Todd's site. They want them at SoundCloud.com.
And that's why, I feel that this way about SoundCloud is that they're always going to have a half-hearted effort around podcast syndication. I mean, I've talked to them before about this topic, and they only do it because they know that that's the only way they can get the content.
Right.
It's not their end all, it's not a major pillar of their company is to distribute podcasts to iTunes or to Spotify.
Well, the product,
what I'm saying?
Yeah, the product over there's been largely abandoned. They haven't introduced the new RSS feed tags or anything. So, it is what it is. But
I mean, it's possible that Google could get into hosting podcasts like they did with YouTube, but I also don't see that as something that they're likely to do, though.
Well, just look what YouTube just did. They just put the hammer down on YouTube creators. So if you've not had 4,000, listen to this, 4,000 hours of listening on your YouTube channel, you're getting demonetized. I laugh about that too, because I got the notice on my channel. You're being demonetized on February 22nd. You haven't reached 4,000 listening hours in a year. And I knew I wasn't going to make it. I don't promote YouTube, right? We stream on YouTube. And I did the math for 2017, just to run the report. I had like 3,100 and some hours of listening time on YouTube. Well, I'm getting close, but what did that equate to in dollars? Like, I think my total YouTube payments for 2017 was like $80. What is that? It's nothing,
Well, and what is demonetized anyway? Does that mean that you can't make money off of your content anymore?
No, they will not run advertising on a channel that's not getting 4,000 hours of views a year. So that kills about 99% of all YouTube channels will be demonetized. There'll be you can still be on YouTube. They can still advertise on your video. You're not getting paid for it. So they've completely, anyone that was making any money whatsoever on YouTube, 99% of the folks that are on YouTube today will have, YouTube gets to host that content, gets to monetize it, gets to keep every dollar of that revenue. And those that have 4,000 hours of people listening to the show on a annual basis will be able to make some money. But like I said, I was 3,000 some hours, and my total YouTube payments were like $80 for the year. Okay, so I wasn't making any money anyway, right?
Yeah. So why would YouTube and Google do this? I mean, what's their what's the end game here? I would think that would have cut.
It's to
that's going to cut their revenue, isn't it?
It's not going to cut their revenue. They're going to make more revenue because they don't have to pay me a percentage anymore. So they still get to monetize my content.
Okay.
But they're trying to focus all the advertising into the top creators. So the cream is completely rose to the top. So if they've taken this approach with YouTube, think about that for podcasting. Think about that. Only the cream.
There's two directions it can go, right? It can either all that energy that has been going into YouTube is now going to shift over to podcasting from a creator perspective.
I don't know.
Or it's going to follow the same pattern. It's going to where the big shows get bigger and the big advertisers only advertise on the big shows, and the smaller shows get forgotten about.
Yep, they get thrown to the curb.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
they don't have time for the smaller volume. That's what it boils down to.
It's the TV model, right? It's the TV model.
But do you think there would be a business opportunity now where you could go to YouTube and say, listen, we'll do revenue share if you let us run advertising in these shows that you're not monetizing?
Especially if you can open it up to be a direct buy from a company buying directly versus going through agencies. I think agencies are where the issues are.
The agencies are, and PR firms, It's and it's the agency mindset we've talked about on this show many times. You've got a person that's controlling millions of dollars. I met a guy at CES who handled the Bud Light account. Now think about that. This 20-some-year-old guy, and controls the entire digital spend of Bud Light for Budweiser. Now, imagine the power that guy has to put dollars where he wants. Budweiser spends big money in the space, right? Yeah. I said, have you ever thought about advertising in podcasts? And, we talked a little bit about it. I'll take a Bud Light commercial. And it's a scale thing, truly a scale. He's used to writing $1 million checks, And so he's in a position where he's got to do well for 2 or 3 years, keep the Bud Light he's got people under him, but he's the dude for Bud Light. And so he's got to be able to, make his numbers, and he's not going to put any dollars at risk so that he can move up the chain and become a VP or something of a company. So most of these accounts, now this is a big account, but most accounts are held by 23 to 26-year-olds, and they got a 2-3 year old in the tunnels to 2 or 3 years in the tunnels to move up. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where this goes. But we completely went like weird around topics here. Let's talk.
Yes, we have.
Let's talk about Spotify. They made some announcements this week. Matter of fact, I had a reporter call me from the Wall Street Journal, wanted to talk, and I said, I can't right now. So he said, "Oh," I said, "Yeah. So what do you think about the Spotify announcement, Rob?"
Yeah. I didn't wind up talking to him either. So.
Oh, you had a call from a reporter too. Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, I don't know that I want to go on record specifically talking about what Spotify is doing here too much, but I think we can give our opinions about what Spotify is doing here, but we can't talk specifics on our relationships with them.
Right.
So,
but this visual stuff they announced with Gimlet and some other folks is kind of interesting. So, do people actually look at their devices while they're listening to content?
No.
That's my question.
Well, answer that one very quickly. No.
Yeah.
So they're trying to combine what they think the generation of that they're catering to, right? The younger generation that's into video.
Right.
But I don't know that, I don't know that it's going to work. I think they're trying to mash two things together that don't go together.
It's a lot of work to do that extra, putting stuff up there. I don't know. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we're doing video with this podcast, so I suppose it can do it. I'm just not sure what it means from a production standpoint. It looks like that they're working with specific partners to create content for this.
Yeah.
And I don't, who knows? Look, I've got an open mind. They can try it and see how it works out. Not everybody's going to want to do this.
Yeah. It's a lot of work.
So, yeah.
A lot of work to add that visual component on there. I'm definitely going to, see if I can look at it, see what it looks like. But
yeah, they're working with like BuzzFeed, Cheddar, Crooked Media, Laney Letter, Gimlet Media. So Gimlet's probably going to have their programs. They're going to come up with some sort of visual element that goes along with their audio programs. It's going to add cost, production time. Unless they can monetize it in a little bit more significant way, it may be a money losing proposition. But they're probably going to gain more audience. Like we've always said, Todd, video is a powerful aspect of building audience. So, it could work to some degree.
Mm-hmm. So other than that, what have you been seeing new? Anything? It's early in the year here.
Yeah, it is kind of early in the year. For me, it's been really all about planning for the next year. What events I'm going to be going to, what events we're sponsoring, planning and getting things pulled together. I know that's probably what you've been doing as well, to some degree. You're probably going to be doing it more here coming up, but there's some good events coming up this next year and around the podcasting space, and Spreaker's got some big plans, and I'm sure you do too, Todd. Things that are going to roll out that are new and different, and so it's an exciting time to be in this medium.
One thing I kind of was grumbling about is the direction Podcast Movement has taken, and they're going to 3 days of full sessions
during the middle of the week, right?
In the middle of the week, and it's obviously that they're really super catering on the business focused folks, and I understand that, but the independent content creators.
Well, that's not what that show's catering to as much now.
Well, yeah, because if they did, they'd have an overlap day. They'd go Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
And that way people wouldn't have to take 40 hours because it's a full week. If you fly it on Monday, get there for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you fly home on Friday, people have to take a full week of vacation. That's a hard sell. That's a hard sell for someone that's doing this part-time.
Well, it's probably no coincidence that it's being held in Philadelphia, right in between Washington, D.C. and New York and New Jersey, that area up there, which has a lot of podcast business people. So, I would imagine we're going to see a lot of public radio there this year. We're going to see a lot of commercial radio at that event this year too. So it's becoming a bigger business type of show. Yeah, I think.
So I guess
those people like to work Monday through Friday.
Yeah, they
do.
Do.
Fly home on Friday nights and have their weekends with their families.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the goal of the show this year.
And you look at Podfest, who understands the indie community, and I think they have a huge opportunity here to bring in more independence to that show.
Yeah.
It's still kind of regional. from its line of people that are speaking and so forth. It's very regionalized.
Yeah.
But matter of fact, some of the keynote people are exactly the same as last year. So, which I don't know if that's always a good idea, but they do have some room here to become a bigger show as well. And maybe some of these regional shows will be bigger this year too. I don't know. But whenever you have an event where people have to take a week's worth of, even for me, let's think about this. NAB, 130,000 people. CES, 200,000 people.
It's at 200,000 people now?
Yeah, 200. Yep.
CES?
Yep.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, wow. That's part of the reason why it's gotten so big. Those are high end. Those are during the week. Okay. I don't know. I guess I'm crying in my glass of water here, but for me, as a person that's coming in there and doing business at Podcast Movement, we're there to talk to new customers too. And if they're not there, then, that it's, I'm there to wave the flag and support the show, but we also got to figure out a way to pay for that investment of having, a team of people there for a week.
Yep.
So
I agree with you, Todd. I think it's a pathway that makes it a less attractive show for podcast hosting platforms. That's for sure. I mean, it's not catering to beginner podcasters quite as much. It's going to be interesting to see what percentage of people that are at that event that are just starting a podcast, kind of like what we saw at PodCon, right?
Oh,
PodCon was
amazing.
Was an amazing event.
Amazing.
Right? Yeah. And are we going to see PodCon again? I think that's a big question mark too. That may be the single best new show recruiting event of 2018.
For sure.
Yeah. If they hold it again.
Yeah, I'll go in there with a different game plan. For 18 if they do it again. So.
Yeah, I'm not going to work the booth. No.
Well, we need younger people in the booth for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because we were like the two grandpas there,
Yeah, exactly. The OPs is what I'm being called now on Facebook now.
OP, what's an OP?
It's original podcaster.
Oh, that's what they're calling us. Is that it? I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Is it?
Well, I guess it kind of straddles the line. I was surprised I got a message on Facebook from somebody saying, "So you're an OP, aren't you?" I go, "I think so."
OP.
Is that a good thing? Yeah. Or does that mean old podcaster? I'm not quite sure.
Oh, probably both.
So
I like the I don't know, would you rather be called a legacy podcaster or a OP?
I would probably be okay with the word original podcaster. So
yeah.
Or PP, pioneering podcaster.
How about current podcaster? All right.
My current podcaster. I want to be a CP, right, Todd?
What's that?
A current.
Oh, yeah. CP. Yep, of course.
See, we can come up with our own acronyms here and put them out there.
We sure can.
Yeah. Todd, I coined a new podcasting term this week based on what I'm starting to see in the medium right now. Is a podcast never, or a pod never. That's what it is. Those are the ones that start down the path of starting a podcast and get frustrated and stop.
Interesting. Do they have to start to actually be, or they just never get to the point of starting?
They they get an account, they go through the process of starting to get going, and then they quit because they don't understand or it's too hard.
I shouldn't say this too loud, Rob, but don't we love those kinds of customers?
Well, we do,
because
but
because
they do we have to hold their hands though. That's
well,
I mean, some of these new people are coming into the podcasting space. Unless you hold their hand through the setup process, they're not going to make it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's why. Okay, I'll be quiet here, but that's why I'm adding support people.
I mean, it's part of the process. It's part. I mean, this isn't a negative thing.
Right.
This is like this medium is attracting new people to podcasting in droves.
In droves.
And a lot of these folks just don't have the background knowledge of what an RSS feed is and where to go get it.
They don't care.
How to plug in a microphone.
Yeah.
How to use a microphone. There's a lot of basic skills that are not there with some of these folks. So you have to, I've been spending more and more time working with, even people that are coming in and setting up networks, you're having to hold their hand a lot more now than what we used to do.
Yep.
So, and some of them never make it through the process. They get frustrated.
Well, not only small groups, big groups too, big companies wanting to set up networks that need incredible amount of hand holding. So
and it's not that it's tremendously difficult to do this stuff. It just sometimes the patience and the urgency exceeds that process, right? And it doesn't always. Eventually they'll get there, but they'll make a lot of mistakes along the way, and you have to come in and kind of clean up some of the errors that they've made and their understanding, of even like what an RSS feed is. I still think that, and though we've worked hard, I think in this medium to simplify it and to make it much easier, we still have a long way to go. And a lot of the problems that I see happening are more with the technology, with computers. We're getting into using more and more USB microphones that create driver conflicts. What driver do you use? You're having to turn off microphones that are embedded in your device and use different drivers, and people are having to understand these things, and these can be complex things, especially if you're dealing with Windows. I think Mac is probably a little easier for people to do this stuff with, but Windows can be a complex world to do anything with audio.
Well, I had to laugh because there was a gal that was running a Mac who had an ATR 2100 who made confession on a Facebook post that she'd been doing her show for 9 months, speaking into the mic, only to find that she was recording the show through her microphone on her computer.
Yep. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
9 months.
Yeah, and those recordings are going to sound echoey.
Yeah. And she's like, "Oh my God, my show sounds so much better." I'm like, yeah, of course.
So what this means is that I think all of us are going to need to put a little more effort into, especially those in the hosting arena, in creating educational content to help new podcasters understand some of the details that go into doing this stuff. It's still not as easy, and I still want to push the envelope on making this easier. But the problem with making it easier is that you sometimes compromise the opportunities sometimes to do it in a better way, because dumbing it down doesn't always equate to better content.
We tried to, when we made changes to some of our stuff, I want it to be the easy button. And matter of fact, some of the stuff I'm going to be doing this year is going to be focused around some of these exact issues that you've got, Rob, because it's dead on. People have changed universally in that, well, they don't want to do any research. None. Zero. Get
They
them to
want
watch.
somebody to tell them how to do it.
That-
That's part of the reason why, Todd, you made a post that 2018 was going to be another boom year for podcast consultants.
it will
right?
be. It will be a boom year for consultants. But we've
And it's
got
because of this.
and we got
It's
a lot of
because this.
consultants coming on. Well, I didn't say it was going to be a boom year. I was saying we're going to
It's gonna
have
be a good year.
But at the same point, there's a lot of fly by night people. I got to email some. Rick just talked about it in the chat room.
Mm-hmm.
He invited me to a mastermind, $2,500 to a mastermind he's holding, and I was like, didn't even tell me what the mastermind was. I'm like, what kind of mastermind are you having for $2,500? You know, and it's just the same type of caca that continues to resurface itself. So what we're going to have is we're going to have another round, and we're due for another round of masterminds, gurus, tribes, all this bullshit that people, these keywords people use, and yet they don't know anything. And we're gonna, and guess what's going to end up happening? My true masterminds at Raw Voice, my true tribe, my gurus are going to end up going behind and cleaning up the mess, just like we have for years and years and years. And you guys are going to be facing the same thing. So we'll see where it goes.
No, I think we know where it's going to go. Somewhat, right? It's just how far and how wide. And can we take control of this problem by putting out educational content?
Well,
as a medium.
Yeah, I think so. But again, you've got to get them to watch. They don't want to watch. You know,
that's true.
Mike, we send a welcome email that usually they buy a service and they immediately get an email with all the links in it. It's got everything in it.
Yeah.
That
and they still want.
That email largely never gets clicked. Anything in the email gets clicked. Then the next day, we do a follow-up email that's more personalized to them directly, that then results in an immediate explosion of our telephone ringing.
Yeah.
How can I do this? How can I do this? Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? It's usually 5 minutes on, off. It's just one maybe thing that they're stuck on. And then you end up getting the customer that is the one that you've spent hours with. You know, that you're at the end of the patience with them. And then they say, well, I'm going to now, okay, thank you very much for all your help. Now I'm going to go over to this company and do something. And they come to you, or they go to Rob, or they, you know, whoever they go to. And I'm thinking, oh, those poor support people over there. And at the same time, we're kind of like, oh. You know, it's you want to help people get started, but boy, oh boy, it's people are not willing to do any. Watch a 12-minute video. Watch a 12-minute video. Nope, don't have time to watch a 12-minute video.
Yeah, well.
So if you do any instructional videos, Rob, 3 minutes, 4 minutes tops. That's it.
Tops, yeah. Be very specific.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, agreed. Because the attention span isn't there.
No, 12 minutes. I got to watch this for 12 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if there's any reason for them to hit pause in that video, it's already too long. You know, it's. I don't think it's just the way things are these days.
So, Todd, is Siri connected up with the audio podcast platform with Apple yet?
Is the what?
Is Siri connected up with the Apple podcast platform?
To be honest with you, I don't know.
I saw an article came out here. It says Apple Siri voice assistant is getting closer relationship with podcasts. When asking Siri for news, the platform can provide audio-based news updates from the podcast app. So Mac Rumors posts that this development was designed for the instances where the user wouldn't or couldn't look at the screen, such as Apple CarPlay, or the upcoming HomePod smart speaker. So I guess Siri is going to be integrated in with CarPlay, right? So it looks like Apple is going to push the envelope on this a little bit. I guess they're starting to support a selected list of content providers. But I guess they're focused on news podcasts to get started with.
Well, that's what a lot of people are going to be listening to.
Yeah. But yeah, so it looks like Siri is getting into the game.
Yeah, but they were nowhere to be seen at CES with no devices, and they're so far behind on their home device. I don't know.
HomePod, huh? So they actually announced that, but they never rolled it out, right?
Yeah, it was late. Yeah, it didn't make the Christmas delivery times.
I wonder what the deal is with that.
Yeah, there's some news on it. They're running. It's Apple. I'll be honest with you. Apple is
falling behind a little bit.
Yeah, they are. They're falling behind. I am hearing more and more people, believe it or not, switching to Windows. And that once they go Mac, they very rarely go back. And I'm hearing people switching back.
Huh. Well, Microsoft stock is doing well right now.
Yeah.
They're saying that it could be the first $1 trillion company or something like that.
Well, Apple's bringing $350 billion back, paying the 10% or 11% tax. So they'll be investing that money.
Yeah.
Much to the chagrin of some people. They were, oh my God, what did Apple do? Why did they do that? I'm like, they're a business. They're fiscally responsible to their shareholders. They would be fiscally irresponsible if they didn't bring the money back with that type of a tax holiday. I'm like, come on.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
People are freaking out. Oh, it's they and I'm just like, they're a business. What do you think? Oh my God.
So I still see this HomePod as a major section of the Apple website. I mean, it's got a whole spread in here that shows it's a pretty attractive looking device.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It looks like they've done some heavy engineering on it.
We'll see.
I'm sure it'll work fine, but
and a very expensive price tag.
Well, of course, it wouldn't be an Apple device if it wasn't expensive, right?
That's right.
It's very cool looking. It looks like it's a little mesh bag,
So I took a stick or basically a USB-C drive into the Mac store. They had a new iMac Pro there, and I said I want to do some encoding tests, and the lady's kind of looking at me kind of funny. I said I need to know how much faster this thing really is, and so on my trash can here, my Mac Pro here that I've got, I set everything up and ran the encode time was like 3 minutes and 30 seconds for the video that I had here locally. Took the same exact stuff into put it on the iMac Pro and then encoded it in like 248, which that's a decent improvement for a short video. Then I went over to the iMac, just a regular iMac, and did the same exact thing. And the encoding time was like 3 minutes and 5 seconds. I'm like, maybe there's no need to get the Pro. I just buy an iMac.
Yeah, sure.
It was just kind of funny because $5,000 versus $2,500, and you're only gaining me like 15 seconds or so on encoding time. I think not. That's a lot of sausages that can be saved otherwise. I was going to look here. What else was in the news per se?
There's been some talk about the recent changes that Facebook is making to to prioritize family and friends now, and people are talking about how that change could impact podcasting and how people share their podcasts in Facebook and whether or not people are going to see it.
Well, I've been sharing my podcast on my personal feed from the beginning. My page is kind of secondary, so maybe my strategy was good.
It says it shows a chart here that average organic reach of content published on branded Facebook pages has been plummeting since 2015. So, yeah. So Facebook, it looks like, is, there's a lot of people talking that Facebook is kind of like committing a little bit of suicide here.
Well, you got to understand, Rob. I don't see my family in my newsfeed. What did I join Facebook for? To follow my family and friends? All I see is business crap.
Well, that, and I've been seeing a lot of podcast stuff.
Well, I see that too, because we were both we're in the both, and because a lot of the people that follow us are podcasters.
Well, that, and plus we follow so many podcast communities, groups and communities. I'm sure Facebook picks that up and says, well, this is a big priority in his life, so let's deliver all this content about podcasting, and it will create more engagement, right?
Yeah.
So you would think that would make it actually even more effective, but not so much about publishing links to our content unless our content supports the podcasting industry, which is what we do, right? But if you're doing a show on underwater basket weaving, it's probably not going to get much audience, right?
Well, I think people that have a Facebook page that serves a purpose, and if they have, like most people follow me on my personal profile, so I intermix personal and business stuff in there. So
you kind of have to these days.
Yeah.
I mean, people like to follow people. People don't necessarily like to follow businesses.
Right, or sites, or you're right.
Yeah. So how do you? You have to create this pseudo connection between your personal life and your business life. And being a podcaster definitely puts you in the middle of that.
Well, what you're going to have to do with your business page is you're going to have to get your credit card out and buy some advertising.
There you go, Todd. That's the answer, right?
That's
what
the
Facebook
answer.
wants you to do.
Exactly.
Because they're a for-profit company.
Yes, they are.
I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah. I think I did. Isn't that funny how businesses are always looking to, add some dollars to the bottom line? And, if you're getting free exposure, if your Facebook page is getting free exposure in the news source, why do you need to advertise? You don't.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do this because they're going to lose money. Come on. There's, again, fiscal responsibility to the shareholders.
Yeah, there you go. That's the primary objective, yes. But all these social platforms right now are getting beat up pretty bad, right? Because of this whole, investigation on the government around, it's being compromised by certain, rogue countries out there. So they're starting to react to this too, right?
Well,
the whole fake news thing, and
they should have reacted 2 years ago, but they were very happy to take their money. See?
Oh yeah, definitely, sure, because they're a for-profit business.
Oh,
right?
Amazing!
It kind of dovetails into the earlier conversation.
It's all about follow. People are so come on. It's all about follow the money. Let's just be real. Everything in this country is about follow the money. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Everyone thinks we live in this social society that, companies shouldn't make money, and it's, you're in it to do better good and, and advance the worldwide agenda. Come on. It's what goes into the bank. At the end of the day. if you have, if you have some programs that forward a worldwide agenda, that's good. But, all companies have a motive or an agenda. Come on now.
Todd, do you have a sense, I mean, as you look at the big picture of social media, you've got these big platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, which feels like Instagram is definitely, or not, I should say this, Instagram and LinkedIn feel like they're gaining momentum out there. Are you aware of any other social platforms that are starting to gather momentum as a vehicle for podcasting, or are we kind of in this phase where we're locked down right now? We're locked into these key platforms as the only option going forward into the future.
I think we're locked in at this point. I don't see anything else. Have you seen? I haven't seen anything. There's not a new Twitter. There's no. LinkedIn for me is more of a business resource than a podcasting resource. But
well, they're operating that more and more, and it's owned by Microsoft now. But they're operating more and more like Facebook now. I mean, LinkedIn starts to feel like Facebook more and more every day. Now, granted, it has a business focus.
I never go over and
have a personal focus.
I don't go over ever read the news feeds over there ever, because it's just a bunch of scammers pitching stuff.
Yeah.
To me, it's real spammy on LinkedIn. It's entrepreneurs that have a mastermind that they want me to spend $2,500 on.
That's true. I am seeing more and more people posting podcasts over there, though, especially if they're podcasts about business.
Post a link to it back to their website. Sure.
Yeah. I don't know. We haven't spent much time talking about LinkedIn as a place to promote your podcast, but it might be a good one to add to your portfolio.
I use it strictly as a place to hook up with business people. When I go looking for people at a company, that's the first place I go, because they've got their profile. I'm doing such and such in podcasting or whatever it may be. And then that's how I find them.
Yeah.
And I just, I added a bunch of the guys from Midroll over the past weekend because I wasn't following too many on LinkedIn from Midroll. So I went and, did their whole C-suite and VP suite. I added one of them, not all of them followed back, but that type of, because I want to see what they're doing, who's leaving, who's coming, because you get those notifications, such and such changed jobs, or such and such is now VP of this, or when their profiles update, you get that notification if you're linked over there.
Yeah. No, I agree. I see that all the time too.
But of course, there's the hot 20-year-olds that follow me on Facebook too. The girls with 3 pictures in their Facebook profiles. Yeah,
that also happens on Twitter too.
Yeah, they're after these. They're after a 53-year-old guy. Yes, fantastic.
Yeah. and it happens a little bit on LinkedIn too. So it's kind of
and it's mostly foreign profiles that do that. So
yes, it does kind of wonder what their agendas are, right?
Yeah. And if I'm like, I don't care that you went to the University of Belarus, and you're in textiles or something. I'm like, okay, you're a great LinkedIn contact.
Yes, exactly. It's going to be so helpful and useful to me in the future.
Yeah.
Yes.
But anyway, anywho's we're wrapping here close to the bottom of the hour.
Yep.
So it's good to be back. Hopefully, instead of doing nasal drainage next week, I'm back to 100%. So,
well, now it's all planning and getting ready for PodFest Orlando, which is coming up February 8th through the 10th.
Yeah, Mike and Mackenzie from our team will be down there.
Yeah, that's what I've been working on, is pulling all that stuff together and getting ready down there.
Who you taking with you, or is it just going to be you?
No, the entire Spreaker Blog Talk Radio team is going to be there.
Whoa.
It's going to be close to 30 of us.
So you guys must be having a meeting afterwards then.
Well, we're all there for the duration of it. We're going to be doing stuff together after the event, and it's not going to be a kind of like formal meetings kind of thing. It's just get the team together, get everybody to know each other, get some of the team into that podcasting conference to learn about the podcasting medium a little bit more, and get connected with podcast community, and just get everybody to meet each other, because there's a lot of people that work for the company that have never met each other in person.
So everyone that's going to PodFest, got a mission for you here. I will not be there to spy on Rob and the team to find out what they're up to for this year. So
Todd, you're missing out, man.
It's your job, those of you that are attending PodFest, it's your job to squeeze as much information out of the Spreaker team to feed that back to me later so we can have some interesting conversations to have after PodFest.
Just squeeze me, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, just treat me like an orange. I'm down there in Florida to squeeze the orange. It's just me. I used to work for the Florida Department of Citrus, Todd. I don't know if you remember that or not.
You told me about your big orange juice thing.
Yes.
Rick Savoy and Tommy Savoy are going to be there. Matter of fact, they're going to PodFest specifically for the reason I talked about earlier. He said in the chat room,
to spy on me? Is that what it is?
No, he's going because it's indie. It's more indie focused.
Oh yeah,
and he doesn't have to take 40 hours worth of vacation.
Yeah, that's true, and it's not a bad place to visit in February.
Yeah.
Hopefully it won't be freezing down there and snowing.
Well, I'll be down in Florida as well, but not exactly the same time. Matter of fact, from a scheduling standpoint, it's probably going to screw us up because I fly out on the 15th, get in the 16th, do my daughter's wedding stuff 17th, 18th, then 19, 20, 21, we're going to be doing theme parks. And then on the 22nd, we come back. So the show on the 17th will not be a go. When is PodFest? Is what weekend?
It's the 8th through the 10th. So
yeah.
Let's see here. Let's look at my calendar here.
Yeah. So there'll be no show on the 10th and the 17th because of travel. Rob will be at PodFest, and I'm going to be at a wedding.
Yeah. Yep.
Or not a wedding, but a reception. Yeah.
Doctor. Yes. So any news on the podcast awards? Did you want to mention anything?
Yeah, I opened up registration yesterday, and so people can register. The timeline is exactly the same. We haven't changed the calendar. So voting, I think, or nominations start on July 1st. We did make a few rule changes, but we did add 2 shows to the legacy shows. And the legacy rules are essentially once a podcast is won a single category 5 times, they're no longer eligible to win the category again, and they become what's called a legacy show. This year we added the Majority Report in the politics and news section, and we added Grammar Girl in education. So that brings our total up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 shows that have basically joined the legacy category. The education category will be renamed to the Grammar Girl Education category, and the politics and news will be renamed to the Majority Report Politics and News category. So, registration's open, and we put our accounting up on the website as well in the donations area to let people know where we're at financially. 2017, we ended up about $400 ahead.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like the first year I haven't had to write a check.
Wow, that's great.
And it was largely because we had the GoFundMe in 16. That money carried over, registration money carried over for basic expenses. And then registrations in 2017 and sponsors put us a little over $12,500, I think, for amount of money that came in. The site rebuild cost $6,000. And we're going to do another round this year, probably around $3,000 worth, maybe $4,000. The accounting, actually, the trophy cost was $4,400, not including the mess up I made. They had do some reprints, which I took out of hide. But all total, we were net about $400. So yes, I'm getting rich because of the podcast awards.
It's a public service thing, right?
Right. But I do pay taxes on that money, so it's all run through my business. So whatever my tax rate ends up being this year, it won't be quite net 400. It'll be minus whatever my whatever tax rate I pay, 36% or whatever it is. So.
Yeah. So are you going to try and align this with any kind of physical world ceremony at all this year, or are you going to just keep it all online?
I think that we'll approach that next year. We got to get through the rebuild so that, and once we get through the rebuild, then we'll have resources to do something. I can take that $5,000 that we were spending on site rebuild, and I can put that towards some sort of physical event. That's not enough to cover it. Any physical event that's going to be that's going to be a down payment. But maybe we'll see. But
Todd, you should talk to the organizers of PodCon or PodFest about maybe.
Yeah, we'd have to shift the dates, and if we did that, the problem is the timing. PodCon it would fit. But we're going to keep it aligned with International Podcast Day for now.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. If the team over there wants me back. So, but yeah. So anyway, we put that information up on the website, and
okay.
But we opened registrations early because people complained last year we didn't hear about it. They've got now until July 1st. So I think there's enough time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right,
it's coming along, Todd. You're a good steward of the podcast awards.
Well, we made it. It's manageable now. We've automated it so that really I'm not spending. It's much more manageable. Yeah. So, and we're going to make the website even better to make it even more manageable. So we learned a lot of things in 17 and what we're going to put in the back end for 18. Mm-hmm. So, but anyway, everyone, if you have comments on today's show, you can email me, Todd@blueberry.com, or you can follow me at Geek News. And Rob?
You can reach me, Rob@Spreaker.com, or you can go to RobGreenlee.com. I've got links to the Spreaker live show up there too. I do that every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern at SpreakerLiveShow.com. And I'm on Twitter too. You can reach out to me anytime if you have a question or whatever. And we definitely want to hear from you and let us know about anything that you're hearing out there. We want to keep our ear to the ground and hear about breaking things that are happening online. We both keep an eye on all the Facebook groups and things like that. So thanks.
Yeah, any rumors or any good juicy stuff?
Yeah,
that's what we're looking for. And any of you that work at any of these companies have something you want to just kind of feed us, we'll take that information too. We're happy to share. So we're the outlet where you can that we protect our sources.
Yes, we do.
All right, everyone. Thanks for being here on the New Media Show. We'll see you next week, same time, same bat channel. Everyone, take care. Aloha.
Bye.